obviously, Finals Game 2 is tonight. Just going to skip through this here. We got 15 minutes to talk about the NBA Finals. Joe, give me your reaction to Game 1. Obviously, the Lakers winning by 18. It was never really in doubt in the second half. I want you to say how concerned you think Miami should be after that defeat, and then also in that analysis, factor in the injuries to Bam and Dragic, who are officially missing Game 2 tonight.
Okay, the loss of Bam is obviously huge. Dragic, I think they could have lived without, but Bam, I mean, was a key piece defensively. Without him, like honestly, probably the best defender on the team, right?
Butler.
Oh yeah, Butler too. But Bam, definitely a huge loss. I do think the Lakers shooting 15 3-point threes and 3 from. I think that's a lot.
They only had 4 in the second.
When it's coming, 3 came from Danny Green.
Yeah.
2 came from Caldwell Pope.
Yeah. Without Caruso.
Caruso hit 1.
Yeah.
And Kuzma hit 1, which never happens.
He's streaky. It'll happen.
And then Rondo
hit multiple.
And then Quinn Cook hit 1.
Yeah, late in the game. They brought him in late.
Yeah. I don't see them scoring more threes than the Heat again at this series.
I agree with you.
I think this game was, honestly, defined by the threes.
I mean, look,
the defense did.
You got to factor in. You got to factor in LeBron. LeBron and AD were phenomenal.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're the 2 star players of the Lakers.
Yeah.
But, when it comes down to it, I think the threes really put them over the edge, and it's something that the Lakers never do.
Yeah.
Just score threes from their bench players and everyone else on that team other than AD and LeBron.
I mostly agree with you. I think the threes from Caldwell Pope and Green put them over the top for sure. Kuzma will hit a 3 every now and then. Morris is actually surprisingly decent as well.
Caruso.
Whatever.
I can just go on.
Yeah. My thing, Joe, is I think, look, the Lakers will hit 7 to 8 threes in a game.
Yeah.
But 15 is a different story. Their role players stepped up in a way we didn't see them step up throughout most of the Denver series. If you're Miami, can you count on there not to be a repeat of that later in the series? No, you can't. But you can comfortably say, we're not going to get outshot that badly from 3 again this series. My thing on all of this is, losing Bam isn't just about the defense and the switchability and the rebounding. It's about on offense too. He is the key that makes that offense function. He is the guy who will set high pick and rolls. He'll stretch bigs out to create driving lanes for guards. And on the high pick and rolls, it keeps defenses honest, forces them to cave. So guys like Hero, Robinson, Iguodala, Crowder, Nunn, Dragic can all get open looks. Without Bam Adebayo, it's going to be really interesting to me to see how Miami creates their own looks. Do I think Solomon Hill is as much of a threat in the big pick and roll? Absolutely not. I think Solomon Hill looked terrible last game. Do I think Myers Leonard, if he plays, could offer a bit? Maybe. Looks like Miami doesn't want to play him. Erik Spoelstra is obviously a better basketball mind than me, so I'm not going to question that. My thing on Miami is, 1, they can't get dominated on the glass, especially with Bam out, and 2, they have to find a way to create looks without Bam on the floor. And Dragic as well. Dragic is a very, very underrated point guard. I think Nunn did a great job getting his own looks, but we're going to have to see how he gets everyone else involved. Then you have to factor in how Butler functions. With the ankle injury, I think he'll be fine. Who does he run pick and rolls with? Does he play the LeBron role where he tries to create looks himself and then kick? Or is this Heat team looking like they looked throughout much of the first half when Bam was either in foul trouble or hobbled, where it looked like they were struggling to get open looks? So my thing is, if Miami can create their own looks this game, tonight, absolutely it could level the series up. Am I confident they can do that based on what I saw from the Lakers last night, especially without Bam? Probably not. So it's a tough analysis for me, right? I think we're going to see how Spoelstra puts together a game plan without arguably his most or second most important player.
I think the reason I have faith in the Heat winning this game, I know it's a stretch because they lost 2 of their starters, 2 stars actually. but I have always the most I've been surprised in the NBA watching the NBA has always come from the finals.
Yeah.
Uh, any, I always think now anything can happen in the finals. I didn't think that like the Mavs were going to win in 2011. And I'm a huge Mavs fan, by the way. I thought LeBron was just going to like cook them with D Wade and Bosh.
Yep.
But no, they came through. 2016. No one thought the Cavaliers were going to come back from 3-1, but they did. I think anything is possible, and I think Game 1 definitely needs to be taken into needs to be brought up for discussion. But I also think it was such a weird game for the Lakers and the Heat. Now, Game 2, it's going to be really revealing. If he can't get those open looks that you were talking about, then, yeah, I think the series might be over after that. If they can, though, then I think they're going to just they're going to get back into the right gear.
Yep.
And take the series to 7.
Yeah, for me, I think the key is getting Bam back ASAP. I mean, I talked about how he constructs looks, not even by his own passing, but Bam's actually a phenomenal passer for a center. And we saw that against Boston, basically playing like a point guard. My thing on Bam is, as I've said, he helps the defense cave. It'll create looks on the perimeter for other guys. So my thing is, can Jimmy Butler pick up the slack, especially with Dragic out, and kick to his teammates more? And can Kendrick Nunn become a more unselfish player? Then, of course, you have to factor in Solomon Hill, Myers Leonard. Who is going to step up and guard AD? Do the Heat go big in an attempt to stop him? How are they going to stop LeBron now? Because, right, it's clear that Crowder and Iggy could not slow him last game. Bam got cooked whenever he guarded him, and when LeBron actually cared, he just waltzed past Butler for a reverse layup. So it's a question for me. Can you find a new way to create open looks against this Lakers defense? If you can, you have a series. If you can't, it's good night. That's kind of how I view it.
I will say also, with Bam out, Myers Leonard obviously has to be the I think he's the only other
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really played throughout the playoffs, but it's looking like he's gonna have to get minutes.
I think he's only played like a minute in the playoffs total.
Yeah.
So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how he does in the finals. Because he was decent in the regular season. He wasn't like a starter or anything. He was a bench player. But he was decent. He played his role and got Miami to where they are to their seat in the playoffs, which obviously, helped them out a lot because they got to the finals. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Will the Lakers be ready for it? Most likely. Myers Leonard isn't probably too tough to read, but it's going to be just interesting to see how he does in the playoffs as a probably starter.
I bet they'll start Hill. They'll probably go small, or I mean, maybe they go big. I'm curious. Another thing we're not even factoring in is Dwight Howard early on bodied them on the glass. That's another concern we have to think about. And that's the question. If you're Miami, do you go small and do you just say, yeah, LA's going to get these rebounds. We just have to hope they don't score too many second chance points and go on from there? Or do we go big and try to bully them off the glass and basically count on Lakers role players to miss open shots? Because here's the thing. If they go big against LA, they're not going to have the mobility to keep up with LeBron, Danny Green, Kyle Kuzma, all of them. And even Davis. I mean, Davis is an incredibly mobile big, and Solomon Hill, sorry, you're not as mobile as Davis. And I don't want this to sound like a Solomon Hill slander show.
If you're watching,
he's not.
Screw you.
This isn't a Solomon Hill slander show. He's had a great career, a great long career. He's made plenty of money, and I really respect that. But he looked terrible on Wednesday night, and I just don't see how he's going to match up against any of the Lakers bigs. So the question is, do you seed that and say, okay, We'll give up the rebounds. Let's hope that we can just create enough looks on the other end and hope they don't convert their second chance looks and hope that maybe our mobility on the other end of the floor will give the Lakers problems. Or do you put Leonard in and then sacrifice the ability to guard some of those Lakers role players who went off last game? That's the kind of balancing act that Eric Spoelstra is going to have to play tonight, and that's the kind of balancing act that's going to start in 24 minutes. So, Joe, do you have any last thoughts on this series or anything we talked about tonight before we go back and see how this unfolds?
No. I think I said what I need to say.
Perfect. One last prediction, Joe. What are you going with? Heat in 7? Is that what you're sticking with?
I'm going to stick with Heat in 7. I think if Heat can win this game, which I think is possible, anything is possible in the NBA.
Yep.
I think if Heat win, they get Bam next week, the next game.
Hopefully,
yeah. I don't want to jinx anything, but hopefully they get Bam back.
Yeah, it's a shoulder sprain.
So I think
possibly.
Yeah, I think he will be likely to play. But if they get him back, I think that's going to bring more energy to the Heat in Game 3. I think they can win that one, and then I think Lakers will win Game 4. Then Heat win Game 5, because I think if the Lakers reach 3 games first, then they're going to win.
Then it's over, yeah.
So I think it's going to go then Lakers Game 6, because they're going to be pushed to a corner, backed up into a corner, and then I think Heat's going to win Game 7. Honestly, because I'm big on rooting for the underdogs. And I think that there's a certain energy underdogs get when coming into like big games like the finals.
Without pressure on them.
Yeah. While the Lakers, it's so much pressure. You got like Kobe, RIP. We got to do it for Kobe. Got to get this all for Kobe. And like honestly, and then just the fans. LA is such a big fan base. Miami,
it's a passionate fan base too.
Doesn't even compare to the size though.
Yeah.
So I think that the Heat aren't going to be as pressured.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to give them an advantage in Game 7.
I got the Lakers in 6. I think honestly, this Bam injury only reinforces it. You said that about Lakers in 5 against Denver. How did that unfold?
Okay,
you said
hot take.
Uh-huh.
So we all know
you're not going to Jamal Murray.
We all know Jamal Murray got his power from his girlfriend. So I have a theory.
It's a TikTok
that LeBron
theory.
James reportedly saw Jamal Murray's girlfriend leave
without a mask. Yeah, without a mask.
Yeah, or do something and just get her kicked out of the park.
And that's why the Nuggets lost.
Yeah, and that's why, because I mean, the Nuggets were supposed to win, come back 3-1.
Yeah, that's how the story works. That's how the story works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a story like that in a few weeks on Bleacher Report or some sports media site. And
what, NuggetsWire.org?
And I'm going to be like, I called it. Lakers are cheaters.
All right, I got Lakers in 6. I think that tonight Miami very well could win, especially being galvanized without Bam. I don't see that happening. I think the Lakers defense clamps. It's hard for Miami to get quality looks. And even though the Lakers role players don't play well enough, I think LeBron and AD do just enough offensively to get the win. Then I think that for me, Bam comes back Game 3. They take Game 3. Potential Game 4, I have no idea who's going to. I just think it's going to be 3-2 Lakers through 5 games. And then in 6, I think LeBron polishes it off pretty quickly. I think the script is written for LeBron to win this title for Kobe, connect the legacies. I'm obviously a huge LeBron fan, so I have a little bit of bias to me, but that's what I'm thinking. Lakers in 6. I think the series is a lot more competitive than a lot of people think. And on that note, I think we probably have to go because the people behind us are looking for the key. So, Joe, any final words before we sign off?
Nope.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.